What's up, YouTube? I'm G Infinite. Today, I'm coming from the other side of my collection, and today I'm going to be discussing the Iron Man, the first mark that came out by Marvel Studios. That's probably one of the best marks because that's probably where you see Tony Stark at his best. He's trapped in a cave, and he creates that first Iron Man suit to get out of that cave. So I'm going to be talking about the Marvel Studios exclusive, but I'm also going to be comparing that Marvel Studios Mark 1 to the Iron Man. When they did the movie series, they dropped Hasbro dropped an Iron Man set that also came out with Mark 1. So there's a lot of similarities, so I'll be talking about that as well. As you can see right here, I have my whole Iron Man shelf. This Iron Man shelf was created by me. These are all the different marks from the beginning to the very end of what Iron Man has created. If you look on this side, these are the newer marks, and of course the Hulk Buster. As you can see, these are the Marvel Studios exclusives. Then right on the top, you see the Iron Man going to war with Thanos and the rest of the Avengers. So these are a couple of things from my collection. I usually try to create sceneries. Here you see the first battle, Captain America and Loki. They're fighting in New York City, and as you can tell, Loki tells everybody to kneel. So I got an inspiration to put Loki fighting Captain America because Captain America doesn't kneel for anyone. These are a couple of things in my collection, but I'll be talking to you about today's Marvel Studios exclusive, Tony Stark, and his first mark, which is Mark 1. Alright guys, so this is Marvel Studios. This is from the Iron Man, the first movie done by Hasbro. This is the first 10 years, so it's gonna go all the way back to 2008 when Tony Stark was the businessman. He was selling weapons and so forth. His company, Stark Industries, was making weapons at that time. And this is the business Tony Stark. There you see him in his business attire. One thing I like about this figure is that Tony Stark obviously has a tie and a white shirt, so you know he's ready to conduct business. Obviously, Tony Stark, who is extremely wealthy, looks really, really cool. As far as the figure, they gave him a really nice suit, a navy blue suit, and they gave him the white shirt, which I really, really like. I love the fact that the head sculpt looks a lot like Tony Stark from the movie, which that also was cool. And the tie, as you can see, it's not painted on. It actually, if you look at it there from that angle, it's an actual tie, which is pretty neat. So that's some of the things I like. Definitely like the black shoes that he has there. And of course the little silver that's added to the belt, because Tony Stark is always extremely presentable. Obviously, he is one of the most wealthiest men, but then again, he also has a lot of knowledge. He possesses a lot of knowledge, and that's probably his strongest asset. The fact that he's very, very smart. Tony Stark can pretty much do anything, which is going to lead me to my next figure. So this is Tony Stark from the business aspect, and this is by Marvel Legends, Marvel Studios. This is the first figures. Alright guys, so as you can see here, I have the Marvel Studios Mark 1. Now the Mark 1 was a suit created by Tony Stark when Tony Stark was kidnapped and forced to create weapons. And what he did was he outmaneuvered himself to get out of a cave by creating the Mark 1. Mark 1 is probably his greatest creation because it was the creation that actually first started what we were gonna look at as the Iron Man legacy of all the other marks that Iron Man created later on. So this actually was him at his best and truly on his grind, because he actually was in a cave and did work on this with just scrap metal and some other stuff that was being brought to him. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about this figure, but I did want to look at the scales. For those of you that don't know, this suit over here on this side was dropped first, and the scale is very, very similar to the Marvel Studios. Now, the only difference between the scale is that the Marvel Studios added more color, more metallic tones to the brush, and they did a really great job with the Marvel Studios Mark 1. Definitely would choose the Mark 1 because of the color detail that they did, and you know how they used the browns, the greens, and the oranges, but I'll get into that in a minute. This one is obviously more iron than anything. It's more of a dull color, but like what they did with this one in general. And for those of you that don't know, this comes from the Iron Man set. This Iron Man set here, they did a lot of different marks. This was the atmospheric Iron Man, and this set right here was really cool. If you look at the back, I mean, I have most of them, but this is where they got the inspiration. So if you look at the gold mark there, that gold mark is the same scale as the scale that they used for the Marvel Studios, which I find pretty cool. The only thing is that's obviously all in gold, so the color was switched up. And then obviously this comes from that same Iron Man Hasbro collection, and that's the original Mark 1. So this is the first Mark 1 that came out when they dropped the movie set, when Hasbro dropped the movie set from Iron Man. So let me go ahead and get into this figure by Marvel Studios. If you look at the figure from Marvel Studios, very, very, very cool. Like the different touches that they gave on the metallic colors, they did an exceptional job with the green, and then they gave it like a rusty brown there, as you can see. The reason for that is because they realized that Iron Man was working on the suit on a cave, so they wanted to make sure that they give it different colors, kind of like using scrap metal. So you see green there, you see on the bottom of the foot right there of the Mark 1, you see how they used an orange and then a brown, which was really, really cool. On the side here, they have another like orange with metallic silver. And then on the leg, which something that I noticed, they used the brown, but you can also see on the legs here the cable of you knowing that this is machinery that's operating. He actually had to make cables and all these other things to actually get it to function and move properly. So that's something that you see there, and you also see it on the other side. You can see there the wheel, which is, this is simple mechanics 101, but for Tony Stark, I mean, this built him out of a cave, so against, you know, a militia. So very, very cool. Love what they did with it, but definitely one of the nicer touches to this is the chest piece there. There you see the art reactor, and you see the actual, the first time that Tony Stark actually had that chest piece, and it's a rusty, kind of like a brownish metallic brown color. And the helmet, you can tell, is very boxy. Not like, of course, the new Iron Man suit, but like I said, Mark 1 will always be my favorite Iron Man suit because it is when Tony Stark was truly down on his luck, and he had no option but to create this in order to escape. And I like the fact that he called this, he calls the actual memory of the suits now, he calls it Jarvis. Very, very nice. Like the greens that they gave it here. As you can see, like a neon green, and then the oranges here. And you could tell that this is a true operation of mechanics. If you look right there in the center, that's the simple mechanics of this suit. Well, not simple mechanics, because I'm pretty sure I couldn't build it, but definitely a cool mark. This is the Mark 1 by Marvel Studios. This was a job well done to Hasbro that created it, and this is from Marvel Legends, Marvel Studios, and this is #1. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed this episode on the Marvel Studios Mark 1. This is the Tony Stark, the business Tony Stark, and this episode was for the Mark 1. I want to send a special shout out to Toy Biz, who created the first original Mark 1, which you see over here. This is probably one of the cooler marks. This is Toy Biz is where I started my Marvel Legends collection. If you look at this Mark 1, obviously the face piece comes off and you see Tony Stark there. which is a nice touch. But I collected all of them, from Toy Biz to the Marvel Legends, which is done by Hasbro now. But this is the original Mark 1 done by Toy Biz. Shout out to Toy Biz. I know that obviously Toy Biz doesn't do the Marvel Legends anymore, but like I said, you got to originate and you got to talk about the history of the Mark 1. So Toy Biz definitely started this, and Hasbro brought it to what it is today. Very, very cool. I like the fact right over here. Shout out to my boy Ironmonger. If you look, Ironmonger is the enemy from the first movie. This still has not been dropped by Marvel Studios, and I'm hoping that it does get dropped, because he was the first villain in the movie Iron Man. So Hasbro, if you're listening, I know you did it through the Iron Man series, but definitely drop another one by Marvel Studios. This is definitely one of the greatest collections of Iron Man, and like I said, in order to be a true collector, you definitely have to start out with the basics, which was from the Tales of Suspense, and that was the first Iron Man that was done by Toy Biz. So shout out to everybody. Please subscribe, hit that bell for the next notification, and definitely hit us with a like. I'm G Infinite. Peace out, YouTube.